Hey everybody, this is Derek.
This is Mark.
What's up, dude? Part three.
Yo, yo, yo. Is this going to be the conclusion?
Are we going to
Perhaps.
make it? We have 2 days to cover, and one of them is an extremely light day, but still the question looms large. Can we possibly fit this into 2 hours?
I think we can.
Yeah,
What's
we
this,
got,
Abu Sir? I mean, I don't even have anything to say about this because I wasn't there.
yeah, you were pooping to this day.
There's some poop issues going on.
Um, yeah, welcome back to part three. Thanks everybody for watching. Part two did pretty well on YouTube. That was awesome to see that people were checking it out. And if we're going by content, I think the quality and the just amazingness of what you're going to see today in part three rivals all the awesome stuff you saw in part two. The end of this trip, especially the last day, was just pretty incredible. So we'll get there.
Well, it was incredible for us. I just want to be able to communicate that to people.
Yeah, yeah. I was going through
Maybe
my
it doesn't come
pictures.
through in the podcast or the video, but yeah, look
Yeah.
at that. Look at that pyramid at Abu Sir. That needs to be excavated. Why is there dirt just piled up halfway up in the side of that pyramid? What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm just totally flabbergasted by how poorly Egypt is run on so many accounts.
I think the current status of this site, Abu Sir, is that at least parts of it are closed to the public, or maybe the whole thing is closed to the public right now. I'm not positive about that, but it is like one of those things where it's classified as like an active archaeological site. I was looking at it on Google Maps earlier, and like it will show you that parts of it are closed and stuff. Um, we
Yeah.
obviously were able to walk around and also obviously didn't see very much active archaeological work going on actively there, although we did have an archaeologist with us this day who was walking around with us and pointing some things out, so that was definitely cool. I don't want to like sell that guy short, but yeah, I agree with you. Like it's probably time to at least get like the loose dirt off of the side of this pyramid and see what else is there.
Well, I mean, atmosphere, I get it. It's not as popular, but like we were talking about last week, the Red Pyramid. Come on. I mean, top 10 archaeological sites in the world. It's just covered in crap, but
Right.
there's Cheetos wrappers in it. I mean, it's a joke. Like, I'm against imperialism, except when it comes to, invading Egypt to take over their archaeology. That I would be okay with that. I would do the calculation. How many Egyptians do we have to kill? Like, is it worth it? I don't know.
I
What's the
disclaim all of this. I was with you until you said kill.
yeah? You were with me until the joke got funny. Right as the joke got funny, then Derek doesn't want a part of it. Okay, I get it. That's
Um,
okay.
yeah, Abu Sir is kind of a big important part of it is really this sort of just kind of open courtyard type area in front of the pyramid that is just has lots of cool individual pieces, and it's kind of mixed. You can see like the stone is not the same as this or these.
Those look like
There's
granite columns. No,
Yeah,
on the right there. Yeah, where your
yeah,
cursors. Oof.
right. Yeah, and there's some cool tool marks here. It's a cool place to just kind of be able to wander around, that's for sure. Um, the other cool thing about it, and I'll have to zoom around on this picture for it to really be evident because it's a weird, like distorted panorama. But I think I mentioned this before. The interesting thing about these pyramid sites in Lower Egypt is that you can see each pyramid site from the other. So this is standing in between some of the pyramids at Abu Sir. There's like a dozen different like small pyramids and structures at Abu Sir, although
And are the pyramids, are they like the Red Pyramid or the Bent Pyramid or the pyramids at Giza? Do they have that kind of, the blocks, are they about the same size?
yes, but they're
Or is
way
it more like
smaller
Saqqara?
overall. They're way smaller overall, and just like less precise, more just kind of like,
But the blocks are the same. The way the limestone blocks kind of just, yeah. Okay.
yeah, I would say so. Maybe smaller. I mean, the scale of the whole site to me definitely felt a lot smaller. Um,
So it's like one of those satellite pyramids next to the Great Pyramid, for instance, where you could tell it's the same kind of building, but a lot smaller, of course.
yeah, it is kind of like that. Yeah, like there's the three that are in a row at Giza. These are kind of like bigger than
And
those,
there's a
but
lot
smaller.
of. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, that's a good approximation of it for sure.
Okay, I don't know if we pointed this out last time because it was so long ago. Uh, you don't just find that kind of like the way the limestone blocks jigsaw. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. The way they fit together. I mean, that's what's so incredible about the Great Pyramid and the other ones. I mean, I guess we'll talk about it, but all the blocks are different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And but you don't just find that on the pyramids. You find that in the walls, like the middle part of the walls at Karnak, for instance, or at Edfu. I know you found it there.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like the same kind of building structure, just all like a bunch of just disparate pieces brought together. Oh, you're looking at the Giza pyramids there?
Check that out. So yeah, we have this is Giza over here, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
you can kind of see the three of
I
them.
think you can kind of see like yeah.
Can you see it through the smog?
How's your pollution?
Yeah, what's up?
Um
What's up,
s-
guys?
Speaking as an Angelino, that's really saying something.
what's
Um
what's a catalytic converter?
and then going over here, this is Dashur. Or this is a Saqqara rather. There's the step pyramid
Yeah,
right there.
and to the left, that's the Black Pyramid.
Right, the one that's kind of like wonky on the one side
Yeah,
here.
it just kind of fell apart.
So
That
I thought
that
that
one's
was
made out of
cool.
mud brick. I mean, that's a for sure Old Kingdom site. Oh wait, maybe it's newer. Don't quote me on that, dude. And what's
Um,
going on here? Looks like there's those paving stones again, and just like the
yeah.
polygonal, I think they call it, just polygonal paving stones that don't just all kind of fit together. Very much like the floor of Giza.
Hmm.
Phew, incredible,
Here's
dude.
a
What?
yeah. Here's a broken off, six-pointed column. Just looking at sort of like the broken off cross section of it. I just thought the geometry of this was amazing. I mean, it just reminded me of a spirograph.
Yeah. How? I mean, I guess how symmetrical is that? Do we know?
We don't. I mean, I don't think we talked about this piece specifically, and like I would be pretty dubious to try to like eyeball it. So yeah, I don't really know, but it's an impressive thing, even if we do have a theory for how it's done by hand. I just thought it was actually
Okay,
just
well, now
cool.
that you have that photo, you gotta take a half of it and fold it over. To do some photoshopping to see.
Yeah,
Oh, dude, by the way, it looks like some basalt flooring in the
yeah.
background.
I was just gonna say that.
Polygonal
Yeah,
basalt
totally.
flooring. Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
easy to do. No problem. Dude, is that locked in perfectly to the limestone foundation underneath? Okay, cool. Yeah,
And
that's
that leads into this, where like, yeah, this is a ridiculously straight edge that's like smoothed into the surface of this piece of presumably basalt. I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
yeah, that looks like it.
So yeah, this is pretty wild. There's
Yeah,
a lot of just
interesting how you would cut
individual.
that. Is
Yeah.
that the piece where you can actually see the lip and at least have a pretty good guess of how thick the blade is that cut that? I
I
know with
think
one of
you're.
these pieces you can do that.
Yeah, I think you might be. Well, maybe. That other one you definitely can, which I didn't get a bunch of pictures of. Well, yeah, I guess you kind of can here. I mean, if you look right there,
I guess the
pretty
point
cool.
is, I don't know how thin they think the blade was, but the blade was very thin,
Hmm.
maybe a couple millimeters max. I remember Ben or maybe one of the guys talking about that at some point. Maybe at Karnak they were talking about that. Oh, jeez, I forget.
And then there's also a
Beautiful,
yeah, there's
beautiful.
also like a mastaba type section here that has. I mean, this is one of those Elephantine Island, or I mean, sorry, one of the Serapeum type boxes. Really, kind of.
Mhm.
At least it's sort of in the same family. There's some of them in the Serapeum that kind of look like this. You couldn't get down into this, like whatever you would call this recessed area. This is a picture from above, but I mean, yeah, this thing was pretty impressive.
Are those
And
nubs?
yeah,
When those guys talk about the nubs being functional, I get what they're saying, but also you look at nubs like this and they look well designed.
yeah, I mean, I think whatever this is broken into pieces, and I guess it's presumably a lid for like a
Yeah.
secondary sort of box here or something. And I would think that, yeah, it's functional in the sense that like these things are somehow allow you to, put rope around it and move the lid or do whatever you have to do. But they also seem to be like uh, they're decorative in some sort of way too. It's like they
Yeah,
didn't
that's what
just
it
make them
seems
functional,
sometimes. And
you
I
know.
think that may be the box that's now I may get this wrong. It's either granite on the outside and there's a limestone. Yeah, you can kind of see where your cursor is. There's a limestone lining on the inside.
Hmm. I
It's,
mean, that
it's made
makes
of two
sense.
different stones.
Yeah, that looking
Eh,
right here, eyeballing that looks like it.
Yeah, go look at I mean, everybody, go look at the Abusir Uncharted X video where he talks about that. I mean, it's just very impressive.
Oh yeah, because this right here, I think, is where right, there's a division right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see. Um, we did not, I don't remember us actually stopping and looking at this. I think I was just like wandering around. So I didn't get a full spiel about this one, but I just thought it was pretty awesome seeing that.
Oh,
Again,
yeah. The
like,
one to the background there, it looks like there's mud brick.
yeah, and it's like fitted exactly into this. Like, I'm standing above this thing and this is like recessed
Yeah.
into the ground. And yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, also in the same
Oh,
mastaba, there's this thing, which if you've been following our YouTube videos, this
yeah.
should be familiar to you. Again, we see this smoothing. I mean, this one is obviously insanely clear as day. Now, again, like I want to be a little bit cautious in saying, like, I don't know the full history of this site. It's been there for thousands of years. I mean, maybe there was a time at some point where someone came in with like a surface grinder or something and was fucking around on this wall. Like, I'm not saying that it was pre-dynastic Egyptians who did this, but it's just like, I mean, I don't know why, what is this? And especially because we've seen this pattern in other sites like Giza
Yeah.
and the Osirian.
That is incredible. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're moving on to Abu Ghurab, which is just like 1,000 meters down the road from Abu Sir. This is kind of like a 2-in-1 visit this day. These things, these like basins, or whatever you want to call them, are probably the thing that Abu Ghurab is most noted for. Um,
Resonance chambers. That's what I'm going to call them.
yeah, and there's multiple of them in a row, which we'll see in a minute, and then there's also others that are like this, but that are made of different stone that are around the pyramid as well. At least one or two of them,
Those are
and
quartzite, if I remember.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, we don't know what these things are for. They're obviously weird. Um, I don't
The
know.
official
Yeah,
story is there for sacrificing animals, but that doesn't make
right.
sense because that hole there, that drill hole, it's on top, it's not on the bottom.
Hmm.
So, yeah, dude, it's obviously a resonance chamber. Obvious.
Whatever that means, that's what it is.
Dude, something with resonance. There's a frequency there going on. I know that for sure. I mean,
There's
I'm kind of
definitely
making fun of
frequencies.
that, but dude, I don't, I mean, okay.
There's another smoothing, with kind of a pretty clear division between where the smoothing ends. And that
Ooh,
was
that
on the
looks like
side of one
quartzite
of
as
these.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was on the side of one of these guys, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and all those different layers in the quartzite. I mean, I think quartzite is a broad stone, a broad rock. I mean, you can have lots of different kinds of quartzite depending on the material in it.
Hmm.
And I think I remember, yeah, I mean, they were just talking about how it's like different kinds of stone in there. So it's very difficult to cut that. And it's brittle and yeah, that
And
ended
then
nothing.
the other notable quartzite thing at Abu Ghurab is it has this sort of like altar or column base or whatever you want to call it
Dude,
that's in the
squaring
middle
the
of it.
circle. It's a quaternity symbol. That's what I would say, but
Well, see, I'm not familiar with that.
that's young talk. That's okay.
I love it. That's great. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like we hung out here for way too long. I think I was telling this anecdote already. It was very clear that they were just trying to like this was what we were doing for this day, and we had like a dinner appointment because this was Thanksgiving Day. We were supposed to go to this restaurant nearby for dinner, and like we just like stayed at this site for way too long, just hanging out. So eventually it wound up like people were laying down on this thing and like trying to like meditate or like align themselves with the axes of the poles or just like catch the vibes coming off of this like stone. And then there's a other group of people who are like, okay, I'm just going to start walking back to the bus now. And like, maybe if we start doing it, then everybody else will just kind of have to follow us. It's like everyone was getting a little bit antsy. But this thing was genuinely cool. And Abu Ghraib is a cool site. It's, it's very small. So it has a little bit more of a, off the beaten trail sort of feel to it. And this thing is cool. It has tool marks. It's in an interesting, shape and arrangement.
Yeah,
It's
what's
not
that
really
little
like,
notch there? What's going
yeah,
on?
right. So like this combined with those basins are kind of just like things that you haven't seen anywhere else in Egypt that
How
are just
smooth
kind
is
of,
that? I mean, that's the thing. That's what you realize when you go around, walk around Egypt, is you just want to touch everything.
yeah.
Because the first
Yeah.
thing you touch that's way smoother than you expected it to be. It's like you get addicted to it.
And this thing, yeah, it has four sides, like you said, and they are aligned, pretty damn precisely according to my phone compass with the cardinal directions. There's
Yeah.
also, granite casing stones on the small pyramid at Abu Ghraib, and they're pretty impressive too. So
Is it the
that's a
kind of thing where it's butted up against the worn away limestone like we've seen before? Ooh, which I have a
yeah,
good picture of that today. So we'll get to that when we get to the
okay,
Sphinx. But
yeah, it was pretty hard to tell. There's, it's covered in dirt and there's not that many of these there, but
yeah, it's not excavated, so it's hard
right,
to tell.
exactly. Look at this
Okay,
shit though. This is a good just I got one of those things where I got lucky and my phone just focused in perfectly on this thing. So that's a nice tube drill mark right there.
beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah,
Everybody
we
go check
already
out Ben's video on the what's that tube drill number 7, I think. That was found by Flinders Petrie. There's this like an hour documentary on Uncharted X channel. Go check that out. It's interesting. Anyway,
yeah, this actual tool mark might actually be in there somewhere because yeah, his tube drill video has a lot of these. And Abu Sir and Abu Ghraib are two places where you find them a lot. Here's the resonance chambers all lined up in a row. I'm pretty sure the story is that they were not originally found that way. They were moved into this
right.
arrangement when they were
Yeah.
researching the site. Pretty cool. All right, but yeah, let's get to the bulk of today's episode, which is our last day of the trip back at Giza, where we started. So this day consisted of a private access to the Sphinx, which is what we're going to get into first, and then the Valley Temple, which is the temple that's in front of the Sphinx. It's a very cool place. And then we left the site and did some like souvenir shopping and just like the tourist stuff that we had to make sure to do before the trip was over. And then we returned to Giza in the evening for our private access to the pyramids, which is where we'll wrap things up today, if we make it
Just the
through it
Great
all.
Pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
there's us walking into the Sphinx enclosure, which I mean, it's just another one of those reasons. If you're going to go to Egypt, just go with Ben.
yeah,
If you're here watching this and you're interested and you know about Ben and his channel, just go with Ben. You're
yeah.
so stupid not to.
Well, because if you don't, you're going to wind up being over here.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't really sufficiently appreciate this. I mean, I knew that there were like special things that were associated with the tour that like were kind of special for us. Um, but this was obviously the day that super mega drove it home, if not for all the other things that we've, talked a lot about in the last two episodes. But today, seriously, it was just like when you're walking, down this little walkway here to like get into the actual Sphinx enclosure, and there's just mobs of people frantically trying to like, you know, sneak their way in. Like there's guards screaming at
People
people
kept trying to
constantly.
run across the fence. You can see, I think you took the picture in the bottom right there. There's a barrier. And
Hmm.
people would always try to jump over that. And the guy, the guard, was just getting livid. This
Yeah,
shouting and yelling at me. And he had to be, I know his job is to be on guard, but he really had to be on guard.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, as we're walking in, this is us like we're walking above it and we're looking down, down our left side here into the Valley Temple. All right, so this
That's
is
the
the Valley
Sphinx
Temple.
Temple.
Oh, sorry.
The Valley
I'm
Temple is in the background there. It's a little bit south. Yeah, we actually didn't go into that, but I do have a cool picture of it. Um, but we're not there yet, so it's okay. But yeah, we're looking into the Sphinx Temple.
Yeah, I'm conflating those two things completely. I've been conflating them like all along.
Dude, it was confusing to me until we actually went there and I saw the difference. I'm like, yes, okay. The Sphinx Temple is right in front of the Sphinx. The Valley Temple is a little bit off, again to the south there.
And yeah, they were setting up for a concert that night. That's you can see over there. We didn't see the concert.
Dude, look how small those stones are. Oh wait,
Yeah.
they're because the opposite. They're totally huge.
Oh yeah, these things
They're
over here.
unbelievably huge.
Yeah. I got another pic of those later. I'm sure you got some too.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is, one of the things that, you wouldn't typically get to do. This is down in the actual Sphinx enclosure that, you normally would not be allowed into. So I had to get that pic.
Yep.
Pretty awesome. That's me and Diz.
Dude, next time you go to Egypt, I'm going to take my hat off for the pictures because I can't really.
Oh, you look
Oh
cool.
well. You can still tell it's me. I'm looking grumpy, so that's how you know it's me.
It was a really blue day with puffy clouds that day, which has made it a little bit more
Dude, yeah, look
photogenic
at
also.
that. Look at
Okay.
that. I mean, it's you're looking at the Sphinx, which is cool, but you're also not really looking at it. I think a lot of the face is still original, but there's been a lot of repair work on it.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of just regular old brickwork. Like it's paws, like all this stuff,
Yeah, that's
It's
all
all
new.
restoration. Yeah. But for people who aren't familiar, like, say a little bit about the Sphinx and why it's so weird and interesting. And maybe you can talk about I forget the name of this. I forget the name
Inventory.
of this
It's
as well.
once some kind of stela, the Sphinx stela. No, the Dream stela. Because Tutmos the third, or maybe it was the fourth, he fell asleep beneath the Sphinx and it was buried. It was buried up to the neck in sand, which is a cool thing about the Sphinx. I think a lot of people don't really get. Uh, but anyways, we'll talk about that. But yeah, so the Sphinx was buried up to its head, and Tutmos the third or fourth, I forget, took a nap under the Sphinx, and he had a dream. And in the dream, somebody told him, I forget who told him to repair the Sphinx, and that's what he did.
It's
And so they
badass.
dug it out, and there was repair work. I think that Tutmos the third or fourth, that was probably Middle Kingdom, and they took a record of it on that. That's what it says on that Dream Stela. But yeah, the Dream Stela, right? But I think
So,
what I indicated earlier is kind of the cool thing about the Sphinx is it's all one solid piece of limestone, and it's like that because it was actually dug out of the limestone plateau of the bedrock.
mm-hmm.
And I think you probably show us videos of the walls, and that's what one reason they may think that the Sphinx is older than 2500 BC is because there's water erosion along the walls, and there wouldn't have been water erosion like that. So the argument goes, in the last 5,000 years, you would have had to go back to the end of the Younger Dryas to get enough water on the Giza Plateau to create the kind of water erosion that you see.
Right.
So what
Right.
they did is they dug out the area around the body of the Sphinx. The head was probably a yardang, which is just like a outcropping in the plateau, a limestone outcropping in the plateau. So they shaped the head and then carved the body out by removing blocks. But they didn't just like use like a pickaxe and turn it into rubble. That Sphinx temple that you showed earlier, they used the large limestone blocks. I mean, these things, I'm guessing 80 tons at least. They cut out those 80-ton blocks to reveal, to shape, to reveal the form of the body of the Sphinx, and then use those blocks to create the Sphinx temple. Not unlike when they leveled the plateau, especially from the middle pyramid, the Khafre pyramid, they took blocks that they carved out large blocks. I mean, those are 100 tons plus. They took those blocks from the west side of the plateau where it was higher, moved it over to the east side of the plateau to make the plateau level so they could build the Sphinx or the middle pyramid on it. I mean, it's just incredible. So that to me really stands out. I mean, that's the most interesting thing I've learned about the Sphinx that you don't really learn in whatever seventh grade social studies.
Right. No, totally. Yeah, exactly. And now I don't want to. I might be over attributing this theory now because now I have the whole water erosion thing in my head. But isn't that what we're seeing here too?
That
Like
is wind
these.
erosion because that's parallel. And the reason is the water erosion is on certain parts of the enclosure. It's more prominent in certain parts because you can kind of, okay, so where the pyramids are, that's level, but there's other parts of the plateau that kind of just go downhill, and the Sphinx
Mm-hmm.
is kind of at the bottom, so it's like a gutter for all the rainwater on the Giza plateau if there is going to be a lot of rain. So
Mm.
that's why they think there's more water erosion there. I mean, plus there's been a lot of repairs on the Sphinx itself. So yeah, and there you can see those.
So now
So
we're looking at
the
pools. Yeah.
horizontal erosion, that's wind, but the vertical erosion, that's water. And nobody really denies that it's water. I mean, people who understand, I think this is originally Robert Schoch's theory. Actually, it's not Robert Schoch. It's
John Anthony
the guy who
West.
first mentioned it, at least in modern times, is Schwaller de Lubitz in Sacred Science. It's on page 93 or 94 or something. It's one of the books I read last year to get myself ready to go to Egypt.
Hmm.
But Schwader Lubitsch mentions it, and then I think John Anthony West, who's been on Rogan a couple of times, he picked it up, and then he took Robert Schoch there, and Robert Schoch, a geologist, said, "Yeah, that's water erosion." And other geologists who disagree with him, they agree that it's water erosion, but they think, "Oh no, that could have been done with, the minimal amount of rain that you receive on the Giza Plateau, which is less than 1 inch." Giza Plateau gets less than 1 inch a year, and it's been that way for a long time. So I don't know,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah, so that's one of the purposes of this picture, is to show the erosion. You can actually see more of it back here too. It's a little bit
Right.
more.
That's where it's the most. That's where it would have run down from the Giza Plateau.
Right, right.
You can do like
But
a topographical map and see where the rainwater would run.
then, of course, the other reason to show it is to just reemphasize the point we were making earlier, which
Yeah,
is
look at all
like,
those
yeah,
plebes.
you go all the way to Egypt and you wind up being here when you could be here. Like, it's
Yeah.
so near but so far. uh,
Dude,
um,
you don't even want to be downwind from people like that. All those plebes up there on the side. Yeah.
yeah, we got really into our elitism
Yeah.
at this point of the trip, because yeah, you do feel like very special
Yeah.
being able to be down here. It was really amazing. And yeah, so then just to continue on that story, like, not only were we able to get down into the Sphinx enclosure, and if we have time later, I have a video. It's like 4 minutes long, because like I tried to really capture the whole thing of me doing a slow
Yeah. I
uh
think you should show it.
okay, yeah, I just walked around the entire thing just to try to really kind of put you there and capture that moment, because yeah, it was really something.
Yeah.
um but then also, we had this special access to the temple as well. So they led us through the locked gate here, and we are able to walk down, and then you kind of go around the front here, kind of where this concert stage was, and we're able to enter the temple. So
Yeah.
here on our right is where some of those enormous, well, on both sides are where some of these enormous blocks are.
Well, yeah, on the right there, that's the Valley Temple.
Right. And
The
this is the
Sphinx Temple
Sphinx
is on the
temple.
left. So those huge limestone blocks, and I'm sure you have pictures. I mean, they're way bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the limestone blocks, I think we saw this in the mortuary temple for the Khafre pyramid, but they go around corners.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
So yeah, this is down in
Yeah,
the
look at
Sphinx
that.
temple, looking back up. Just an awesome view. Just is a really crazy
The other
perspective.
thing about the Sphinx, and let me know what you think, but I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but I guess I got to say it is it's humongous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the size of it and the fact that it's all made out of one piece of limestone. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's really big, you guys. That's my takeaway from going to Egypt. The Sphinx is big.
It's big.
Yeah,
Speaking of going around corners, this is some of the granite blocks. There's not a
yeah,
lot of granite in there, but there is some granite inside of the Sphinx temple, and I just thought that one was like, what the hell? You didn't have to do it that way. You could just butt these things up against each other. So why did you do that?
yeah,
Obviously, we see that in other places too, but it's just always worth noticing. Here we go. Here's looking from inside, looking back towards the side wall of the Valley Temple from
yeah.
inside of the Sphinx Temple.
Look at
And
those
yeah,
blocks.
yeah, I mean, I remember thinking, looking at this one, that like this guy right here is insane. This one's insane too. And they also have geometry on the surfaces of them I guess because they did originally have other blocks up against them or something, or
Yeah,
maybe,
something like that.
or this could be related to their excavation, like what you were saying before. I don't really know, but it's interesting that they have these pretty geometric features on them. Like that one right there is very noticeable.
And the weathering, I mean, look at the weathering. I mean, so the reason why there's ridges of horizontal lines is because, I mean, it's limestone, it's a sedimentary rock. Some parts of the limestone are softer than other parts. So obviously the layer that's softer is going to erode sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this is, okay, so there are Old Kingdom blocks, Old Kingdom mortuary temples that it's very clear a civilization right out of the Stone Age could have made because it's mud brick.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not weathered like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not weathered that much. It's so okay. I don't know. And of course, I mean, especially the blocks in front of the mortuary temple of the Khafre pyramid. I mean, those were weathered way more. Are we going to go to the Great Pyramid now? It
Yeah,
looks like.
we're making great time here. So this is I can show that Sphinx video, or if you have stuff from during the day you want to show before we get to the Great
Yeah, I
Pyramid.
have one photo I want to show here. And I think the photo sucks, to be honest, but I'm going to make a good point with it.
Okay. Let me pause my sharing. Oh wait, stop sharing. Okay, now you should be good.
All right, share screen. Oh, can you all right, yeah, so Zoom changed a couple of things. So I'm going to request that I become host again.
Oh,
God, what a
great.
pain in the ass.
Yeah, you're the host. I see it.
Okay, now I'm going to share my screen.
Got it.
All right. Um guys, check out this. No, seriously. Dude. Well, here's me picking the Sphinx's nose. That's what I wanted to show.
Good one.
Now, God, what was I gonna dude, it's not here. Well, anyways, it was whatever. Just go look up granite blocks covering the Valley Temple. I had a good picture from the side of these granite blocks. So the Valley Temple's weathered. The limestone blocks are weathered. And I got a really good picture of the side of the granite blocks cut to fit the weathering of the limestone, meaning that, the limestone was already weathered when they put the granite blocks on. And how do they cut them so well to fit? I mean, it fits the weathering very well. I'm sure Ben has some photos of it. Just, I guess, go look it up anyway.
Hmm.
All right. Nice going,
Hmm.
Diz. I swear I had it. Um, okay, stop share. Then I'm going to make you the host.
I
All right. Now you're the host.
okay. All right, so let's do the Sphinx video real fast. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is going to go for 4 minutes. I'll just let her rip.
You know what's interesting? That's something I've noticed is the faces. Don't you think that the faces on the supposed Ramses the second statues and then the supposed Khafre statue, don't you think they have the same expression?
Yes, yeah, I do. Yep.
Like kind of arrogant. There's like a arrogance, but also serene.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mix of those two. It seems like they have the same expression. And I wouldn't be surprised looking at the Sphinx that it had the same expression as well.
Yeah, I
You
think I
can't
know what
really
you're
tell
talking
now
about.
because it's all weathered, but I would believe that. Yeah, there you see some of the smaller bricks.
Well, they
Ooh, look
talk
at
at
how
the one
well those bricks
museum.
fit together.
Yeah, how'd they do that? They talked at the one museum about like how there was the three different phases of like the representational art, throughout ancient Egypt, where like it started out being like all just like very perfected and sort of just like geometric, and then it became like overly realistic, where like they would depict people being ugly, basically, and stuff. Um, and then like finally they had this sort of like I don't know. The third one was something like, like an idealized, like they're trying to like make people look like human, but sort of like imposing, or like it had like kind of a political aspect to it. I think those were the three, if I remember them correctly. But I always think of that like even outside of ancient Egypt, with like all sorts of, look at all those plebes up there,
Yeah.
even with like other forms of art, like from like entering into the Renaissance, and like medieval art before then, is that like it seemed like it used to be this rule that you were only allowed to make like flat expressionless faces, like that was the only sort of like acceptable human representation for a while. And then like that changed later. It's like, I don't know, I just think like different schools of art have different, like what's considered acceptable when it comes to that stuff. And I think something about these ancient Egyptian ones is just like they have to be sort of like symmetrical and have this sort of confidence. I guess that's maybe what you mean by like arrogant but serene. It has this sort of like confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, well, listener, let us know what you think. I mean, go look at the statue of Khafre and then the ones of Ramses II. Supposedly, it's funny. I mean, they've done a reconstruction of Ramses the second face, and it just it's not even close to the picture. I guess they excuse that because they're carving him as Osiris or something. But it's interesting in these really hard. I think granite or diorite. The Khafre one's made out of diorite, that they're able to capture this expression and have it be the same. And there's no uncanny valley in these really hard stones.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like that. It's pretty remarkable.
I guess hopefully one thing that was conveyed in that video while I was talking there was how long the Sphinx is. I mean, like you said, yeah, it's huge, and
It's
specifically the dimension in which it's huge is it's his body goes back such a long way.
yeah.
It's very long.
I mean, that's it right there. I mean, this is like the end of archaeology. You have the Sphinx there with the Great Pyramid in the background. I mean, that's all you need.
Yep, pretty awesome. All right, so that's that video.
Cool.
And then while I'm here, real quick, let me see if I can show this other one. This is the guy who was letting us through the gate.
I can't hear him yelling.
Oh, you can't hear the audio. Okay, that's fine.
What's he saying? Where is the guy?
He's just screaming and yelling, special, special, special side, like letting us through. And that's a little slice of life of what it was like to like kind of get through that gate and get back onto our bus.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, now we transition into returning to Giza in the evening for our private access to the Great Pyramid. There's
Dude,
three.
it was not lit up that well. So that's your phone doing that.
Yeah, and that's why it's so blurry too. Like
Yeah.
in very low light, the phone is like leaving the exposure for like a really long time, so it gets blurry. But yeah, it was quite dark, and yeah, there's three chambers inside of the Great Pyramid. Like quick overview for people. Um, three chambers that I guess that we know of, or that that we're allowed into, or that are officially
Yeah.
documented.
Perhaps there's one. I mean, they did they did I don't know, some kind of I forget exactly what instrument they use, but they can look at other if there's possibly other chambers. And there is at least some empty cavity above the Grand Gallery.
Mm,
They don't know what that is. Again, I mean, it's just one of those things. Okay, it's there. Let's go in it. Oh, no, we're not going to. When it's been there for a while, we're just not going to look at it.
yeah. So yeah, this is us approaching. You basically go up the side up here, and then this is sort of your entryway into it.
That's the official entryway, but down here, it's uh, okay. So yeah, if you just go right down, there's a little hole there. That's where you enter. And what's the guy's name? Some Arabic. I forget the name, but he basically had guys. Supposedly, the story is he had guys tunnel in, and they tunneled in right to the intersection of the ascending and descending passageway. So there's no way that's how they found it. And Ben and the Snake Brothers guys, they figured he tunneled out, but then how did you get it in the first place? I don't know. Nobody really knows.
Hmm. This is going to jump around a little bit because we had kind of like open access to this during this visit, and we kind of like went back and forth and hopped around to different places. Um, but this is taking us straight into the Grand Gallery, which is just, again, I probably said it a bunch of times already, but just pretty hard to capture how massive and impressive this room is.
Yeah, very long.
Yeah.
Very long.
Yeah, I mean
Oh,
you're deep inside of the pyramid at this point. I mean, this is after going through one of those like, narrow strenuous, shafts like we talked about before, to come out into this
yeah,
grand
yeah. You go in the
gallery.
entrance, and the entrance is probably 100 feet, and then you go up the ascending passageway a little bit. That's probably another 100 feet. So, yeah, and then you come to this, and it's one of those things. Like, I don't know if you've been in the mystery spot in Santa Cruz, but you can't really tell the angle of it by standing in, because in order to tell the angle, you have to be looking at the horizon, so you have something to judge it against. But you can't really tell. It kind of feels like a fun house, especially when you're at the top and looking down. Like, if you had to guess the angle, it would be very difficult, I think,
Yeah.
just
Yes.
standing there. But I think
And
it's 27 and a half degrees or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
and it's another one of those things like the other chambers that we've looked at where like this ceiling, like this isn't like, we're not just looking at the innards of the pyramid here. It's not like, oh, they made these walls and then up here is like the regular, like, blocks that were used to construct the pyramid. Like this is intentional too. This
Yeah.
this whole thing was intentionally made this way, and then the pyramid was built around it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's just kind of dumbfounding. It has the corbelling like what we saw in Dashur last time
Mm-hmm.
around, and yeah, it has this angled passageway up,
Yeah.
and then when you get up in there, you're in the king's chamber. So this is the tourist shot of Diz inside the the box in the king's chamber, but it's going to be extremely hard to do the king's chamber justice. I guess we can just dive into it.
Yeah, I think you said last week that the king, like some of this stuff kind of makes sense, but you go into the king's chamber and it just should not exist
Mm-hmm.
as it does. I mean, it is incredible. And there's one little room before you. Oh, okay, so you go through the Grand Gallery. Then at the top of the Grand Gallery, there's another little tunnel, and you can stand up. There's like some higher ceilings within that tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Yusuf did this to you, but he stands in there with you, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you got to stand up. I'm going to do this resonance thing." And I'm thinking, "Oh, okay, whatever, resonance, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And then he does it, and it reverbs, dude. It
Yeah,
is
it's crazy.
crazy. It really, like, I was totally taken aback by how it reverbed in that little chamber there. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what that means. Maybe something's going on. Maybe not.
Yeah, so just to reiterate that, I don't have a picture capturing that. You get to the top of this like ascending passage through the Grand Gallery here, and you're going to enter a tunnel through which you'll crawl to enter the King's Chamber, the place that we were
Mhm.
just looking at a second ago.
Yeah,
But when you're crawling through that tunnel there, there's a spot where you can stand up straight. It's like carved up above you. And it's about enough room for like just two people to stand like facing each other. Um, and yeah, that's where you can do that, and it just has this incredible resonance to it. You just like, if you stand up there and just make like a low hum without even like opening your mouth, it's so loud. It feels like
yeah, it
it's
gets really
enveloping your
loud.
whole head. Yeah. Um, I want to make sure I might not have all the pictures in the right order to really capture the king's chamber, and maybe putting the picture of the ceiling first isn't quite the most impressive way to
No,
look at it.
dude, you can't
Although,
capture it. You got to
yeah,
go.
I mean
Go to
the
Egypt.
ceiling,
Go
the
with Ben.
the ceiling is crazy though. I mean, because these are enormous, heavy pieces.
Yeah, those are 60 tons each.
And then here's the thing that me and you have been fixated on. This is the
Yeah.
little tunnel shaft that you crawl your way through to get into the king's chamber. So this is like as soon as you've emerged into the king's chamber, looking back at where you came from, you see this piece here, which is, if you remember from last time around, we made a special point of highlighting this piece here. This is not like the other blocks that are in this wall, and it's just like the arrangement of the chambers
Okay, I
in
have
the
those two
Joshua
pictures side
pyramids.
by side from the red pyramid and from this pyramid. So I guess now we'll do that. And
Oh,
this will be the
okay.
last picture I have. So,
Okay, let me stop sharing here.
nope. Okay, I'm going to boomer through this. Okay, I am the host now.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to share my screen. Okay, dude, is that the Great Pyramid or the Red Pyramid?
Yeah. Wow.
And it's not just that block. Look at the blocks on the side. Those are all the same. Look at the blocks up here. You can see my cursor. There's one small one medium sized one, and then one larger one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to the Red Pyramid. Small. Oh, I guess it's not exactly the same.
It's
Okay,
pretty
crap.
damn
But
close.
you have
And
those two blocks here and
yeah,
this block, and look at this block. Oh, what is that? 12 inches, 10 inches. I'm gonna go back again. Just
mm,
had what is that? 12 inches, 10 inches. What's going on?
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, so it's like, okay, you could say like, okay, well, they had a blueprint. There was an architect who knew how to make one of these chambers, so they just did it twice. It's like, well, yeah, okay. First of all, that's amazing because that's really something. But also, why? Why the hell would you do that? Like, for what purpose? What is any of this? This
Yeah, I
doesn't.
mean,
None of this
we're
has inscriptions on it. And we don't know what any of this is. It just feels alien and spooky in a way that other stuff in ancient Egypt really does not, in my opinion.
yeah. And just looking at the pyramids is one thing, but going in, and I know it doesn't capture it with the photos that we show, actually walking around in the pyramids, crawling around, dude, it's special, man.
So I
Something's going on. Yeah, it's spooky in a way, and it's spooky when they just try to shrug it off, like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, you just have enough copper saws, put enough quartzite sand in the grooves of those copper saws, and you'll get this. Yeah, this is what they did right out of the Stone Age. Yeah, by the way, we're at the highest chamber in the pyramid. I mean, this is about halfway up. So what? We're 200 feet high.
mm-hmm.
We're 200 feet off the ground, and you got this huge. I mean, it's maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
let's go back
Um,
to the. Yeah, look at that. It's corbelled here in this
yep,
room
yeah,
in the
that
red
matches
pyramid.
up with it. Yep, that's crazy too.
Okay, I'll give you make you host again.
All right, so I'm gonna play the video that I took in the King's Chamber because I think it's actually a better way to make sure that we really get this. This is a little 30-second clip here. So there's where we just emerged from. There's the picture we were just looking at. And now you can really get a sense of just like, what is this room? It's this bare, geometrically perfect room without a mark on it, but with just incredible stonework in it.
Not
And
actually touching the rest of the pyramid. There's a little space between the outside of the king's chamber and the rest of the pyramid.
and then it just has this box. Like, well, what is that? I don't
Yeah.
know. The box has tool marks on it. This is an illuminated view from the box. The box is incredible. It's extremely weathered, more than a lot of the other granite we looked at. I mean, you compare it to that Elephantine Island box, for example, which is just like perfect. I mean, this thing is,
Hmm.
weathered. It's been fucked around with a lot more because of the place that it's in. But it's still amazing in its own right. It's ridiculously flat and smooth feeling. And it has tool marks in it. We got this right here. This is a seems to be a tube drill, right? It
Yep.
seems as
Part of
though
a tube
like,
drill, which
one.
indicates how they hollowed out these. I mean, because that's all, one piece granite. So they took out the innards of it by just, a bunch of tube drills going down and taking them out. And that's an indication that's what they did.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what that is. It seems incredible, but yeah, I guess so.
I
And
mean,
just
yeah, I couldn't imagine what else that would mean. Or I don't know, maybe it does mean something else. I mean, let us know what you guys think. Leave it in the comments here. But
yeah, it was
that's
really
not my
something.
theory, by the way. That's what Ben said. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So I
Yeah,
just go and repeat it like it's I'm saying it. But
right. It's another view of the Grand Gallery. It's just, yeah,
and this
just
is looking down, right?
right.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Yeah, that's the craziest thing is standing at the top of the Grand Gallery looking down. It feels like you can just jump to the bottom. And how long is it? 80 feet, maybe
Right,
longer. Feels
right.
like you just jump to the bottom like a Carl Lewis leap.
Yes, a lot of this stuff is just like interesting to try to read into. Like, what about these? Like, was there something that like they used to like a gear or like just a way of like tethering things so that you could move them up and down this thing? Or did somebody make this like in 1500? I have no idea,
Dude, I asked Yusuf about that and I can't really capture his response, but it was a beautiful response. It was essentially like, I have no idea. It was immediate, like, yeah, dude, I don't know.
Right.
We don't know
Yeah.
what that is.
By the time we got to this point in the trip, like, yeah, I mean, this was just such like a kind of magical sort of experience, like that everybody, even him, or I think we're kind of all just settling into like, at a certain point, like we do just have to catch the vibes here, and we are
You can't
not
do
gonna
anything else. Yeah.
we are not gonna understand this shit. And just the insane precision of the corbelling itself, I think also was super notable. Like these are sharp corners that are exactly the same width, like inset. Each layer is exactly, laid in there perfectly. Not to mention how just straight and just, yeah, there's just so much precision in so many different aspects and ways on display here. This is the Queen's Chamber. Um, Another
Mm.
example of what I was just talking about. Just, why, why it's a smaller version of the same type of room, I guess, more or less. It's much less like special and alien seeming than the King's Chamber, partially because behind you, when you enter this chamber, is a bunch of equipment and sort of like debris sitting around, and also partially because inside of here, like I was mentioning at the end of last week's episode, is a excavation tunnel that was dynamited out by archaeologists when they were exploring this place. This isn't part of, and you
Yeah,
can tell.
it's yeah. I mean, it's interesting how that inside it's not aligned perfectly with the vaulted ceiling. I mean, it's not in the middle.
Yeah, right
By the
here.
way, the whole
Yeah.
king's chamber and the passageway is not in the middle of the pyramid either. It's off to the side.
Hmm.
Weird.
Yeah, very weird.
What is? Yeah, why would you do that? Maybe I don't know.
So yeah, like I mentioned at the end of last week's episode, to go check out the History for Granite, uh, GRANITE YouTube channel. That recently he posted a video that talked about the history of the excavation attempts that were made inside of the Queen's Chamber specifically, and he focused a lot on this tunnel here, and talked about how this is closed off. There's a tunnel that was dynamited out here for people who were looking to see like, hey, does this connect up with something else? Um, and it's closed with a locked metal gate, typically. Although, when we got our private access, this door was not locked. We did not do this. This was like this when
Dude,
we got
should
there.
we even be showing this? I mean, I don't want to sound like a like now that I'm thinking, I don't think you should have showed me that of the maybe I'll edit it out. I don't think we were supposed to show me lying in the King's Chamber
Okay,
box.
okay. You can edit it out. Well, now that we're here, I'll just show it. This is looking inside. Like when we went to the end of that tunnel and we looked
Yeah.
up inside. So this is presumably what you're seeing here, because that's not a real tunnel. It's not a real passageway that goes somewhere, right? I mean, do I have that right?
Dude,
I don't.
I don't know. I mean, you get to the end here and it looks like you are in you know what it looks like is it's like they kind of messed up when they were building the pyramid. And that's the thing is a lot of the outside blocks they look really precise, but some of the inside blocks are not.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, no, mostly inside blocks are precise. And I don't know if you have a picture of us going through that initial tunnel, Mahmoud, Prince Mahmoud's tunnel. I think that's what it is. I mean, that feels like it's one piece of granite. That's how finely or how precisely those things are stacked. But other parts of the pyramid are not like that. They're like this, and it's
Yeah.
like they just it's like they're getting to the end of the workday and they didn't want to, so they just covered it instead of filling it in. Like, oh, it's fine.
Well, I think the other thing that's notable about it is that, like, so yeah, you go through this tunnel right here, you're crawling on your hands and knees, and then you basically just it just ends. It's not a successful, like, attempt at excavating some new interesting chamber of the pyramid. It's just dead ends. But you can stand up and look around, at the end of that thing, and this is what you see. So this is looking at the innards of, like, something that was not intended to be, presentable to anybody. Like, it's just kind of the inner
Yeah.
structure of the thing. But I do uh I do think there's still something special about it, which is that it's specifically the innards of the pyramid that are surrounding a chamber, right? You're only, like, whatever, a couple dozen feet away from this meticulously constructed and purposefully built chamber here. So maybe the way that this works is like, okay, you make a chamber, right? And then you pile this sort of like filler rubble around it as best you can, knowing that, like, the only real purpose for this sort of filler rubble is to just kind of be the buffer between the chamber that you've built meticulously and then the rest of the actual, like, geometrical pyramid structure that you're going to, like, stack up all around it. Right? This is just kind of like packing peanuts, for storing the chamber inside of the structure of the pyramid.
It's saying it's kind of the same principle behind the king's chamber, how it's not touching, how it's actually separate from
Right.
the rest of the
Right.
limestone pyramid.
Right. I mean, if that's true, I mean, I suspect that's why this is the way that it is, because it doesn't even look like it was made in courses. Like, it doesn't even look like it was built up, like, layer by
Yeah.
layer, like the way that the pyramid is.
Yeah, that's a yeah.
So anyway, it's just my 2 cents on that. This is looking through the I guess this would be the descending shaft that goes down into the subterranean chamber, the
Dude, look at
third
that
of the
guy's lats. So hot.
yeah.
That's why he's showing this photo, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I'm just, I'm thinking about my pull-up progress. Pretty soon I'm going to be doing a pull-up on my own.
Derek is
Nice.
making awesome progress on his pulls, everybody. Yeah.
So yeah, this just gives you a little sense of what it's like going through one of these tunnels. There you go. There's another view of it. And we were filthy and insanely smelly by this point. We didn't really mention that it's very hot and stuffy inside of these chambers. It's a
Yeah,
little
more
bit,
stuffy than anything. I mean, you
yeah,
just not.
yeah. You just immediately start pouring sweat, even if you're not temperature wise like that hot, because it's just the air is so, yeah, stuffy. I don't know what else to say. Feels
Yeah,
like
like
there's not enough
claustrophobia is
oxygen.
an issue in
Yeah,
here. And it's like partly because the tunnels are so narrow, but also the air. It's just not a lot of fun to
right.
breathe. But
Yeah, I could definitely picture, yeah, being claustrophobic in here. Thankfully, we made out okay.
yeah,
This is inside of the subterranean chamber. The subterranean chamber is basically this low ceilinged thing with these big rock structures inside of it, and then a pit, which we'll show in a second, that has this sort of, I don't know, this shaft that goes down to nowhere, the middle of the earth, I guess.
we don't know. We
Yeah,
don't know what's. I mean, we know that there's packed dirt at the bottom. Yeah, there it is,
there it is. Yeah,
and that's a piece of granite on the right there on the bottom. Yeah,
yeah, with tube drill holes in it.
yeah, which with tube drill holes, which maybe that doesn't mean anything. Maybe it's just something that fell down. But why? But that's not rock at the bottom of that chamber, which you can see the bottom. I mean, this picture doesn't show, but you can see the
Yeah,
bottom. It's like, why are
I
we
can
not
see it on my
excavating that?
screen. Yeah, this might not come through on YouTube, but I can see it on my screen. There is, yeah, like dirt here, but that's just loose dirt. I mean, this still needs to be excavated totally.
I mean, what a joke. Hey, let's take the lady who's selling tissues on the side of the highway and let's get her to dig that.
Hmm.
How about can I just be like a manager, like operations manager here for Egypt? Okay. That's me complaining.
No, it's a very fair complaint. I mean, we want to know the answers to these things. This is zoomed in on, I believe, the wall of the Grand Gallery. Is that what we're looking at here? I think so.
That's what I would guess. Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to show the markings on this. You can see that, I'm loath to call anything a chisel mark at this point because like who knows what, but definitely, obviously, tool marks all over this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then we emerged back out from our private access. This is again, it was almost pitch black, but the phone did a decent job of sucking in as much light as it possibly could and got a nice little picture looking out over Cairo there.
We were in the we had 2 hours in the pyramid. We were in there for 90 minutes and it felt like 15 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what, it's already, 90 minutes. Wow.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool evening. Got some cool pics with like like I said, yeah, like the iPhone low light capabilities. Actually is able to capture it pretty cool. I think this is actually an awesome picture, even though it's not like high def or anything. It just kind of, I don't know. Again, going with the vibes, like it definitely did have like a little bit of a magical vibe that last evening there. And then yeah, here's the group shot. This is like a low res thing that someone posted in our Telegram channel, so it's not like the full resolution. But yeah, that's our tour group,
Yeah.
and
Marty
yeah,
posted
that's
something like the video. He posted that on Twitter. I retweeted it.
oh sweet, okay, yeah, and Ben also on his second channel, which I think is just called Uncharted X Live. I think that's what it's called. You can find it. He posted basically like sort of a photo collage that captures like when him and the Snake Bros were jamming on the Thanksgiving Eve or on the Thanksgiving night dinner, like at the restaurant, and then he intercut that footage with a bunch of photos and stuff from the trip. In fact, he even used the one photo that I took that I showed at the end of our episode last time around, the one of us coming out of the restaurant with the pyramids. Um, so
Nice.
that was cool that wound up being in there. Um, okay, so then I do have a Grand Gallery video here. Can take a quick look at this. This is yeah, just a little 20 seconds, just maybe hopefully to make it a little bit more real what it was actually like in there. You can't hear the audio there.
No.
So Yusuf is talking during this clip. He says, "This is the Grand Gallery. It makes you wonder if they can make the ceiling this high, then why the hell these tunnels are so small? It must be functional."
Yeah. Yeah. It would be very difficult to crawl around inside there without the planks and everything that they put down.
Yeah, and he just says that, yeah, it must be functional. It's not a matter of limited capability. In
Right.
other words, if you can make the Grand Gallery, then why do you make the tunnels that connect these things that way? And yeah, I do not
Good
have a good
point.
answer to that question.
Good
That's my
point.
last video. This is just a little 360. I'm just like standing in one spot inside of the Sphinx temple and just turning around 360 just to capture it a little bit.
Massive. Okay, look at that one block. Jeez.
And then, yeah, there's that far wall on the Valley Temple that we were zooming in on before.
Dude, I mean, it's science fiction. It's science fiction. It's like those Star Trek episodes when they come across the ruins of a lost civilization. It's just like that.
I mean, now I have some distance from the Egypt trip. I'm not like wrapped up in the actual like day to day of conducting the trip. And now that I'm back in reality here, like back at work and back into like normal life, if I look back on this, what are my takeaways really? I mean, I didn't like pre-formulate an answer to that question. I think my takeaways are really just that it's not really that exotic or weird of a thing to notice at all in retrospect, to just notice the way that you see these things that don't make sense. And once, and I think Ben, has said this before too, is that like once you notice this once, you can't help but just seeing this stuff literally everywhere. Like just there's just that point we just mentioned a second ago. Like you see the Grand Gallery, but then you see the tunnels that connect them, and they're one is extremely simple and there's nothing to it, and the other one is like unfathomable how it could possibly have been done, and they're always just like smashed right up against each other like that.
Well, dude, even the small tunnel's unfathomable. Okay, so what's the descending passageway? It's 300 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you dig that out? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can only have one guy doing it. And by the way, it varies a quarter of an inch, maybe. I mean, it's very precise. Okay, sure. Maybe the descending passageway doesn't seem as incredible as the Grand Gallery, but when you think about it, it's like that's impossible.
Yeah.
Right out of the Stone Age. They're making that,
Right.
supposedly.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Not to
Dude, what's
mention,
the oxygen like in there when you're digging through that? I mean, how long can you really stay in there?
right, right. I mean, not to mention all the other things that we've seen on our previous YouTube videos. I mean, the Serapeum boxes, the Osirian. I mean, that one is still just like, what the hell is that site there?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a very difficult thing to capture. Is just the tons and tons of granite. It's not, oh, here's this strange granite column. It's just mountains of granite dispersed all throughout Egypt in blocks, casing stones, um, yeah, columns,
Mm-hmm.
interior, like the king's chamber. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. That wraps it up. I mean, you got some sort of like parting shot here that you want to kind of put a cap around the whole trip with. I mean, obviously it was amazing. I think we already, emphasized that over and over again. We definitely like made our endorsement that if you're going to do a trip like this, definitely do it with Uncharted X. Um,
No question. I
watch
think you're
Ben's
really
videos.
dumb. I mean, if you're here and you're still listening and watching this, this is, yeah, you got to do it with Uncharted X. There's no question. No, I mean, I think it's just it's a mystery, dude, and mysteries are fun. This is the dude version of true crime.
Hmm.
That's what Egypt is. You're never really going to know what happens, but so what? I mean, the point is just to talk about these things and debate, and maybe that's ultimately the point.
Pretty cool true crime story going on right now too with these Idaho murders. Although I think the guy they arrested probably did it, so it might not be that mysterious for much longer.
Yeah, what's going on with him? What's his deal? Why did he do it?
And we don't really know that part of it yet. Although, yeah, it's interesting. I think the best thing that I can remember off the top of my head right now that I've heard about is that he was a vegan, and that one of these girls worked at like the only vegan restaurant in the area. And so I think that might have been where the connection was initially made, and he got obsessed with her. And he was also like a criminology student who was kind of like has a weird past and was just sort of a weird dude. And I think kind of convinced himself that he could do the perfect murder. And that's basically what we know now, but we don't know that much yet. We only know the only thing that we actually know officially that's public so far is like the minimum amount of information that they had to put into the court filing, to get the indictment. So we don't know all the stuff that's going to come out in the trial yet, but it's an interesting one.
Hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, no, I agree with what you said. Is that like we went into this trip saying, well, I don't know what we went into this trip saying, but I went into this trip with the attitude of, I'm here to see these things that I've only seen on the internet so far, and to try to just sort of broaden my horizons, get an international travel experience, do something that I really wouldn't do otherwise. I was not going to like put together an Egypt trip on my own the way that I could put together a trip to some other foreign country.
Yeah.
Um, this is something that requires some ins and some coordination, and also sort of like the economies of scale like to get some of these private accesses, they want you to have, a group of, 30 people or something, so that they can like make the right arrangements, and probably honestly to like bribe the right people, not in the sense of an illegal bribe, but just like, you have to grease palms to get stuff done. Everyone understands that reality.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think all of these different factors all like played into like, okay, well, it's obvious that this is the best way to do this kind of trip. And the point of doing it is to just like see the kind of stuff that you're only going to see on YouTube otherwise. And so from that perspective, obviously it paid off, 1,000-fold, was like a zillion percent worth doing. But from the other aspect, the thing that we wound up talking to each other about, day to day on the bus rides and at our meals and stuff, trying to actually understand the reasons, the purpose, the how and the why of all of this stuff. Nobody has a good answer for any of that stuff. The smartest people on this trip, the people who had the perspective that was the most worth listening to and the most interesting things to say, even they, or maybe especially they, were the ones who wound up saying in the end, like, well, we don't know, like, who knows, like, but the mystery is part of what makes it so awesome and intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like analyzing a good movie. It's like analyzing a Tarkovsky movie, how we can talk about it. There's all these different angles and, these different interpretations. I think that's why it's fun.
Absolutely.
And he just
Yep.
kind of like that. It's a Tarkovsky movie.
Yep. Yeah, I rewatched Mulholland Drive this week for the first time in years, and yeah, it's still my favorite movie of all time. It was definitely reconfirmed. I was wondering, like, is this gonna like lose anything since I haven't seen it in so long, and I'm
Favorite movie of
revisiting
all
it?
time?
Oh yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard you say that before.
yeah, I think so. Oh yeah, I think it's been pretty definitively numero uno for me
Okay.
since whenever. I don't know what else would be. I don't know what else would rival it. I mean, I
Winter
love.
Light.
No, no, Winter Light's cool though. Um, but anyway, yeah, and Mulholland Drive is one of those things too, like Tarkovsky, where it's just like, part of the fun of it is analyzing it and noticing different things, different times, and bringing a sort of analysis to it, because it isn't going to just like give you everything on its surface.
Yeah. I definitely noticed that after Twin Peaks season 3. As I was watching, especially some of the episodes, I'm thinking, oh, this is stupid. This is too brownished out. But then there's always lots to talk about.
Yeah,
Then afterwards, I'm thinking, well, maybe I did like it if I'm talking about it this much and I'm given, different interpretation of what that ball meant and why the giant showed up at that point. I guess I do like it.
yeah. Some of the weirdest and most arbitrary seeming parts of season 3 are the parts that you wind up liking the best when you watch it again, because it's like that's the stuff where you can really dig into it and think about it from a lot of different
Yeah. Yeah.
perspectives.
There's something to talk about there.
Yep. All right, well, we did it. Thank you everybody for
Yeah.
watching.
So I
Yeah,
guess we'll get back to movies next time.
yeah, that's true. I guess we'll have to figure out something to watch. It's going to be hard to match up with the Egypt picks, but we'll pick something good. thebrazenheadspodcast@gmail.com. And I guess you can also let us know in the comment section of this YouTube video, whatever your thoughts are. We'd love to hear your perspectives, and if you have like links to interesting articles and stuff, that would be cool. Yeah, whatever. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, dude.
Good talking.
All right, we did it. Yep. Talk to you later.